spring, the best in the nation come together to compete for the title. The 2014 U.S. Championships.
The 2014 U.S. Championship and U.S. Women's Championship being played at the Chess Club and Scholastic Center of St. Louis. Hi folks, John Cordisco back again. Round 5 of the U.S. Women's Chess Championship 2014 between the current Women's U.S. Champion Irina Krush from New York and Kamila Baginskaite from, I believe it's South Dakota. I believe Kamila won it 1 year, years ago. Anyway, this is between Irina Krush is white and Kamila Baginskaite is black. It's going to be a Nimzo Indian. Let's get to it. I want to make this small point before we carry on with the game. The U.S. Women's Games, unlike the U.S. Open, which is totally men, it's not just men, but it just happens to have an all-male field. These games are a heck of a lot more exciting to watch. A lot more wins, a lot more fighting chess. I don't know if it's the nature of women or it's just the way it is, but it's disappointing. I wish the men could bail it out a little bit better. They play a little bit safer. Women, they just go for it, and that's the way it is. E3, castles, bishop to D3. They're trying to change the rules around so the world-class players have a lot more fighting chess, but it's tough because there's a lot to lose for these guys. D5, knight F3, C5, castles, knight C3. Everybody, they're more than still in their preparation on move 7. Pawn takes, pawn takes, pawn takes, bishop takes. So now we've pretty much wiped out a lot of the center pawns. As you can see, black's d-pawn is isolated. Right now it's a strength. It's sitting right in the middle of the board, just bold as brass. Pawn there to stop the really annoying... Whoop. Take that back, h3. Stop the really annoying bishop here to pin this knight against the queen. Rook d8, b3, knight d4. Now that knight is really, really strong right there. I've got my Fritz 13 computer on off screen, and it's about a third of advantage, a quarter advantage for white. It's even. Bishop to b2, bishop f5. Camilla's had a hard time in this tournament. I know she had a hard time last year as well. She's a really top-notch player. I think her personal life doesn't allow her to study chess as much as some of the others. There was a game I probably should have showed her, but it was very long, between this young Indian girl, I forget her name, she's only 13, and it was a 4-queen ending, and it was just madness, and she was in time trouble, poor Camilla. And it showed her after on the USChessChamps.com is the website for the videos, and it showed her after the game trying to figure out where she went wrong. And that's really the side of somebody that loves chess and is a great player of both. Because you can love chess and not be a great player like myself. Is she wasn't all upset about she lost. She wanted to go back and see where she went wrong. And to a lot of people in the area here, I live in upstate New York in Binghamton, and I get a lot of media attention on my county championship here because they think it's cool, and actually it is cool. And then people ask me, one of the things I like about chess and what it's really about, and for me, chess is the pursuit of perfection. Now, perfection is an unattainable goal, but we do our best to try to be as perfect as we can in an imperfect world. Enough of my rantings. It's just how I feel about chess. It's the pursuit of perfection. Rook to c1, bishop b6, bishop backs up. Black's in pretty good shape here, even though there's a tiny advantage for white. Excuse me. Knight to a4, hitting the bishop. Bishop comes back. Obviously, Irina wants to keep her dark squared bishop. Knight to c5, which is probably the point of the whole thing anyway. Knight takes, rook takes. If bishop had taken instead, f5, knight here, queen to c2. I don't think I like that as much. After rook takes, this is where Camilla, you know what's funny, the computer here, it shows the next move for Camilla, bishop to e4, and it has a question mark. But the odd part about it is it shows it as the best move on the computer. Now it's number 2, but it's a close second. Bishop to b6 was the computer's choice. She went bishop b4, and it's a question mark, and I don't know why. It's just the way the computers are. It says bishop to b6, and black has air to breathe. So after bishop to b6, rook to b5, bishop b4, bishop takes, pawn takes. I don't like that white rook out there, to be honest with you. It's going to kind of get cornered here, I think. After bishop d4, which I don't think is a question mark move at all. Bishop takes, pawn takes, rook to d5, queen to c8, knight to g5. Now I do question this move though, even though it looks like a very natural move to make. Computer calls for h6 is the #1 move to kick the knight, which would put it at about a 1.25 advantage for white. She goes f6, and the computer just goes nuts. It goes from a 1.25 advantage to it's over 7. It says sad, but how else could black play the game, save the game? After h6, queen to h5, pawn takes, rook, bishop, bishop, knight, rook, queen to c2, and that's the only way she could have saved it, and that still really sucks. After f6, rook to d7, knight to e7. We all see why, of course, he couldn't take the knight. I think bishop takes would probably be the more accurate move. And after that, black's just doomed. Knight to e7 to block off the rook. It shows as the last ditch attempt by black. It's bishop to h2 check, king to h1, rook e7, queen, king, knight checks, rook, queen, queen f8, queen takes, rook takes, king up, rook to b8, and white's up a full rook. I mean, you know, there's no point for that either. After knight to e7, queen to h5, threatening mate, or soon to be mate, there. Queen takes. If they're taking the knight, here's what will happen if after queen takes g5, bishop, king. It's quite a long scenario here, but she's got to give up the queen, so there's no point going through the rest of it. After queen takes d7, queen f7 check, king to h8. Now what would you do here if you were white? What's the best move by far? You know, it's a lot of good moves. Knight to e6 looks really good, right? Threatening mate. And queen can just take. Of course, you lose a queen for a minor piece, but what's really the best move? Even though it looks outstandingly good. Bishop takes f6. A deflection move, as they call it. Why can't you play pawn takes? Queen mates. Here's what will have happened. Can't take. Knight has to go to f5 to guard the square. Queen takes. You're down a queen already. It's already over. There's no point in going through the rest of it. So poor Camilla. She had to resign. Rightfully so. Believe it or not, if you go look at the material on the board, she's up a rook. But it doesn't matter how far you're ahead. The king is doomed, and there's no way you can stop it. Anyway, folks, that's the game from round 4, I believe it is, in the Women's Championship, because they're behind a round from the men. They had Sunday off for Mother's Day. I hope you enjoyed it. It's a lot more fighting chess than the men, but hey, we'll see how the rest of the tournament goes. Want you all to remember, if you think chess is just a game, you're not playing it right. Take care, folks. Bye-bye. And please subscribe. Thanks.
Marshal! He just dug up the bank. He's headed for Deadwood.
You'll never get away with this, Slippery Sam.
Marshal Bob is riding Blaze, the fabulous new galloping horse from Mattel. See, his legs actually move just like a real horse. There's no other riding horse anywhere that gallops like Blaze. Now watch this. When you bounce on Blaze, he romps along like a frisky colt. He gallops when you rock back and forth on him, but he's so safe you just can't tip over. Blaze is the safest, strongest horse made.
Okay, Slippery. This is the end of the line.
Almost got away, Marshal, if it weren't for that lightning fast horse of yours. Where'd you get him?
You can get Mattel's Blaze wherever toys are sold.
And just wait till Dad sees how easy it is to set up. Just pop him out of the box, spread the stand, and tighten just one bolt. That's all there is to it. And see how safe and solidly built Blaze is. You can tell it's Mattel. It's swell.